let's start our front-end talk, and I would love to invite you for the first speaker. The first speaker is a well-known guy from Poland who has been working on the fintech platform for the banks, which is cloud native. So he has an extensive experience working with cloud technologies, but also with micro frontends architecture. He will bring you some knowledge in regards to single SPA and how to build micro frontends using this technology. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce and let's bring some applause for Kamil Dzieniszewski.
Thank you, Sebastian, for inviting me to this event. It's a lot of pleasure. Micro frontend. Yeah, this is a hot topic lately, and I'm sure you would like to know more about it. Today, I will be talking about building micro frontend with single SPA. As this is first presentation of today, I will make a quick introduction to what micro frontend is, that maybe somebody didn't hear about it, so we will know. But I know that Luca and Manfred will go deeper into this topic. I'm Kamil Dzieniszewski. I'm senior front-end developer with over 6 years of front-end experience and 3 years building apps with micro frontend paradigm using single SPA as my core framework. I just started working at Techro, where we are building clinical trial software using micro frontend platform to disrupt the medical market. But I got and used my core micro frontend knowledge building Iron Bank working in Vodino. I was also Mid.js Warsaw community leader before COVID times. I miss those on-site events. If I would like to be with you in the same room talking after the event. But what I have for you for today, how it started for me, what is micro frontend, what is single SPA, how it works, import maps, the secret sauce of micro frontend, some optimizations, something about Devtools, and of course resources for you to go deeper after the presentation. How it started for me, because like you might think that, oh my God, I'm invented micro frontend or something. No, I got familiar with micro frontend at Vodino. And at this moment, I would like to thank you for my friends from Vodino, where I was introduced to this, such as Łukasz and Rafał, who brought single SPA to Vodino, and frontend team with whom I work on this. In that company, we created micro frontend cloud native platform with full suite of banking services of a full EBC banking license. That means that we can deliver for you best solution for your business. Let's imagine you want to create a bank. Bank have a lot of products: credits, cards, investments, savings. All of the products have really big domain of knowledge and expertise. Imagine building an app like that using only one repo and trying to deploy a change on product where other is not finished. That could be a mess. If we try to build one big app and fixing anything, this could take weeks and months. We couldn't do that. We had a really short time frame to develop everything, and the worst thing that could happen to us would be like we need to wait for somebody to merge the code. So how we can fix that problem? Maybe try using micro frontend. So what is micro frontend? The long story short. For years, as not decades, we have microservices on backend. Microservices are component parts of an application that are designed to run independently. So why we couldn't do the same on the front-end side? Like you see on this picture, we started with a big monolith, then we split it to the front-end and backend. This is something new. I think it started like 10 years ago. And now we are approaching a new era of microservices on backend and frontend. Think about micro frontend as splitting company into dedicated teams to achieve their mission without fighting with each other. Like on this picture, borrowed from lovely microfrontend.org, where you can read about the whole concept of microfrontends. Does this look familiar to your teams in company? like Team Inspire, Team Search, Team Product, Team Checkout? Would you like to code and deploy your code independently without waiting for other teams to finish their job? Yes, I know you would. So single SPA is a framework for bringing together multiple JavaScript microfrontends in a frontend application. It's basically an NPM package that controls mounting and mounting applications. So it's just a router. It's a really small library. Achieving your front end using single SPA enables many benefits, as use multiple frameworks on the same page without page refreshing, like React, AngularJS, Angular, Alt, Ember, or whatever you're using. Deploy your microfrontend independently, so every team can run their own apps and deploying it whatever they want. Code using a new framework without rewriting your existing app. You're stuck with old Angular, try single SPA. You can then start creating new code with new framework. And of course, lady load code for improved initial load time. You know, as I said, it's really simple. It's only four things that single SPA enables you to create microfrontend. The most case scenario to start playing with single SPA is to take your existing old AngularJS app and try to add a new feature with new Angular, React, or Vue. It's an instant win for you and your team. Stop supporting old code and start writing new one. Single SPA is simple. There is just two elements that are for creating single SPA application. The first is a single SPA config, which is a root HTML file that is shared by all single SPA applications. And there's also a JavaScript code that registers the applications in the SPA. So as you see, it's really simple. You have only one file in which you put your links to your applications, and then one file when you need to register the applications and run single SPA. The second part of single SPA is just applications. So you see, each one is a separate SPA application that can have their own routing, own store, own backend, own frontend. Like there's nothing to connect it to other applications. So let's go deeper into SPA root config. First, you need to register all applications with single SPA. So it's the single SPA know how and when it load, initiate, mount, and unmount the application. When you register application, you need to give it a name, a function that will load the application. So it's basically a route to your application to the JS file, and a function that determines when the application is active. So for example, it could be like a window location / my application. Additionally, there is a start function. You need to use it in the root config in order to actually mount the application. It has some caveats. For example, if you have problem with performance, you can start application later. So as you see, that's the code for a single SPA config. The reason you need to call start separately is you might want to register the apps at start and start only the code for active applications, but not actually mount the apps until maybe you want to check if user is logged in. Or you have a separate config for a business user and you need to load different set of apps. So you can think about it like before you start the application, you can do a lot of checks, like if user is logged in, if user is a retail or business user, and other stuff. For example, he have already bought some products and you want to prepare a special version of the page. You can execute that and not only actually mount the app. But there's a four props you can pass. It's just some values. Like I said before, you can add, you can pass to the application whatever you want. It's just an object. So that was the root config. Really simple. Now let's switch to the single SPA application, because we need to a little bit modify our current application, but it's not like so hard that you need to take 2 sprints for that. First of all, there can't be a HTML file to boot them. We need to implement the following API. It's only four functions: the bootstrap, mount, three functions: bootstrap, mount, and remount. Bootstrap is run only once, which is initializing the app. Mount will activate the app, and mount will unmount the app, obviously. Each of them need to be a promise or async call. You might think that this is challenging, how to implement that in React or Vue or Angular. Great news is there are some helpers, libraries, they can essentially help you. Like you see, the single SPA team prepared helper functions for React, Vue, Angular, Polyglot, in single SPA, even in ES5 if you don't want to use any framework. So as you see, you are ready and secure for every situation. You can see that it's really simple and don't request for you a lot of code changes. You need to only basically wrap the root component in the single SPA function. Like in this example for React, you wrap your React root component with single SPA React component. You can also use additional prop load root component if you have multiple micro frontend at once. I don't specialize with that. I only like to run one single SPA micro frontend at once. As you see here, that's an example of multiple micro frontend application at once. We have an application called React MF navbar. So that's the navbar. Every page needs to have that. And then we have routes to other applications, like people and planets. As you see, that's all in the HTML, in the root config HTML file. The rest of the code is in the applications. So, as I said 2 slides before, we have different micro frontends, once or multiple at times. I worked with one at a time. It's like application. It means that you run only one single SPA application at once. Of course, you can have additional menu, but that doesn't count. Then you have a parcels. It's like chunk of UI, different applications at once. For example, you can wrap Angular application in parcel and run inside React app. Isn't that amazing? Of course, there's something more. We have the utility modules. For example, you want to have a shared code for like logging in, for downloading the data, managing the store, or you just want to all of your single SPA application look the same. You probably would like to use the same common logic, common components, and common helpers. You might prefer splitting micro frontend by root instead of by single components within a root. That means preferring single SPA application over single SPA parcels whenever possible. The reason for this is transition between roots often involve destroying and recreating most UI state, which means your single SPA application on different root do not need to ever share the state UI. Look at this. This is the architectural approach to micro frontend. There are a few of them. You can have option one, like one code repo, one build. This is the simplest approach for using SPA, is to have the code repository with everything in it. Second is NPM packages. It has a lot of advantages. You can NPM install, is familiar to you, and it's easy to set up. Separate NPM packages mean each application can build itself separately before publishing to NPM. But it has some disadvantages. The root application must reinstall the child applications in order to rebuild, redeploy. It's like a medium difficulty to set up. You can also have monorepos. It allows you for separate builds and deployment without having separate code repositories. And the fourth one I like the most is dynamic module loading. You can create a root application which can allow single SPA application to deploy themselves separately. Let's talk a little bit about loading modules. It's like when you have like build time modules, it's like every time you use an import or export keyword. It's when you when an application transpiles your imports into the code inside the application. So everything is in your one application and it's make your bundle bigger. But we also have like in-browser modules. Then the import is retained and the dependency is resolved in the browser. So instead of have like all the codes for your that you don't currently use, like your I don't know, contact page or admin panel, it's not downloaded during the run of the application. But it's really important in case of micro frontends because we don't want to load everything at once. We only want to load what you need at the moment. So we have something like import maps. It's the secret sauce of micro frontends that will help you understand why it's so cool. They allow you to define the URL for a module by name. So, for example, you can call your module a module and then have a root to it. This is just a defined script element in your HTML file, so it's easy to implement. It helps you to have each application can be deployed, developed and deployed independently. That's the most important factor when you think about big and scalable application. For example, you have multiple teams across the globe and every team is doing a different part of your application in the different domain. You wouldn't like to wait from guys from Mexico to do the code because they are sleeping right now. It also helps you a little bit optimize your app because common libraries are easily managed and can be pre-deployed. It also helps you make lazy loading easy. Like you don't want to load everything at once. You want to show your website as quickly as possible and then lazy load other subpages. And as I said about your all multi-fronted applications looks the same, you can easily share common code, like UI components, utility tools, and others. And I think it gives you generally better dev experience, which a lot of people complain about when they code their application. See, it looks really simple. You just put a script tag with type import map to your HTML file. And it's a simple object with name and path to the module. But I have a sad news. It's still in a draft community group. So it's not implemented in all browsers. But we have a solution, of course. We have Polyfills. You can use System.js import maps. As you see, code looks basically the same. It has just different type, System.js import map instead of import map. So I'm often asked in case of micro frontends about optimizations. So the most common question about optimization is, can I have only one version of React, Vue, or Angular, etc. loaded? And the answer is yes, and I highly recommend you to do so. A lot of micro frontend libraries advertise themselves as you can do whatever framework you want, how many of them you want. But as it showed from my experience, it's you really should use only one framework. It's because like your developers, it's impossible to find a lot of developers who know every framework. Of course, you can quickly learn it, but it will require a lot of time for them to do so. And it's recommended because it makes your micro frontend app smaller. Because in that case, you don't need to bundle React in every micro frontend application. You only load it once and share in your micro frontend application. It's really easy to set up using a recommended setup. And you can configure your import maps so that your library is defined only once. Then tell each application not to bundle that library. Instead, that library will be given to you at the runtime in the browser. For example, you can use, when using import maps, like in the slides before, you can use Webpack externals or rollup externals. It's really one-line code in your Webpack config, where you describe what libraries should be externals and not bundled with the application. You should really check it out and find out how smaller your application would be when you would push out all of those libraries out of your project. Or something new, which is called module federation. It works basically the same, but it's like for Webpack 5 users. And I think that it's not, and it's something fresh, and you should really check it out. But single SPA have something for you that could help you a little bit to understand your tool when you have multiple single SPA micro frontend at once. It has really nice and easy and really easy to use Devtools inspector. I really use it a lot. As you see in this situation, you have mounted two applications, Messenger UI and Navbar. But the dashboard is not loaded and not mounted. So you see in that case, there are only two applications loaded at once, and other is not even mounted. It will help you understand in what state your application is at the moment. At the end of my presentation, I would like to tell you a little bit about the benefits and the drawbacks of using single SPA. The benefits, first of all, I haven't got any problem with that. I'm using it for the last 3 years. I haven't got any problem with upgrading to newer version. It's really simple to use and it's really lightweight. It supports a lot of frameworks. So I think it supports almost every framework that's on the market right now. It supports routing that will help you manage your applications. It has solid lifecycle events, only 3. You can deploy your applications independently. And of course, the cool feature is you can write a new code using new framework. Yeah, you have a really old app. You can want to add new framework modules. You can do this. And it has lazy load for initial load time. But it has some drawbacks. As we saw in Vodino, it doesn't have version control built in. So for example, if you want to deploy few versions of your application at the production and changing during the and serve different version of the application to different users, You need to write your own service for that. And you don't have any component registry or component viewer. So you need to figure it out. At the beginning, I prepared a few links that helped me prepare this presentation and was really helpful during the whole process of development. First of all, if you get familiar with microfrontend.org, it will give you a good general overview of what microfrontend is. Then jumped into the single spa.org. They have great documentation with a lot of FAQ that will answer your most hard questions. And of course, I really recommend the DigitalOcean.com community tutorials. I don't know how they got the people to write them, but they are amazing. They're about how dynamically import JavaScript with import maps. I really recommend you to read that. Thank you very much. I can't wait for Luca and for the next presentation.